Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the live session of IPER's Alumni Connect eLecture series. At the outset, let me brief you all who are joining for the first time in this session. IPER since 1996 has always been known for its excellent academics and equally excellent career building placement. And the proof of that are the strong pillars of IPER that are known as the alumni. It is rightly said that any institution is known by its alumni. During these unprecedented times, we are now facing situations which need special attention in order to continue the learning and growth orientation of the institution. In order to continue our efforts in the same direction, IPER has organized a series of Alumni Connect e-lectures exclusively for the IPERians. It would be a treat for the students to hear straight from none other their own seniors. Today, on IPER's Alumni eConnect series, we have with us Mr. Dipesh Ranjan sir here with us today. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce and welcome him on the e-platform. Everyone, we have with us Mr. Dipesh Ranjan, Vice President and Managing Director for Asia Pacific and India at NetFoundry, Singapore. That's a Tata Communication subsidiary. Dear all, after completing his MBA from IPER in the year 2000, Mr. Dipesh started his journey with Airtel, where he was associated for 2 years. Following that, he worked with firms like JK Technosoft and SIFI for a total of 4 years. Mr. Dipesh then worked with Tata Communications for over 14 years, where he held various crucial positions like Deputy General Manager and Regional Head for Channel and Alliances for more than 6 years, Director, Head of Cloud Sales for Asia Pacific region for more than 2 years, General Manager and Head of Channel and Alliances for Asia Pacific, Japan, and China for more than 4 years, and then being the Associate Vice President and Global Head for Partnership GTM for more than 3 years in London, UK. After that, for the last 2 years, Mr. Dipesh is heading the position of Vice President and Managing Director for Asia Pacific and India in NetFoundry, a Tata Communication business vertical in Singapore. Despite handling so many crucial positions, Mr. Dipesh was never far from learning in a formal setup. After his MBA from IPER, he pursued his interest in learning more about corporate strategy from IIM Ahmedabad and completed his executive MBA in business administration and management from world's most renowned university, MIT Sloan School of Management, USA. Mr. Dipesh is known as a global leader in multi-geography businesses with more than 2 decades of rich experience in delivering proven results in global business transformation. He is known in the corporate world as building new businesses at the regional and global level, aligning partner organizations through shared vision and scaling processes for improved time to market and ease of doing business. Recognized as an expert in building channel strategies, incubating new regional businesses and partner program which enables the organization's strategic goal while driving customer success. Over the long and illustrious career, Mr. Dipesh has gained strong partner management experiences with both regional and global partners. Mr. Dipesh is a trusted leader with an ability to create an environment where a team will learn, work with fun, and feel motivated. A believer in teamwork, holding ability to work with all levels, cross-cultural, cross-nationalities, and boundaries to gain win-win situation for all. Mr. Dipesh is known as being highly adaptable to complex, dynamic, and high-growth environment. His work has given him the exposure to all Asia Pacific countries, and now he is managing globally all partnership engagements. Out of the multiple highlights in his career, Mr. Dipesh has been someone known as a turnaround leader and has incubated Global Partners Program vertical from scratch. and outgrew Asia business in 3 years' time, growing the business from zero to a multi-million dollar in just 3 years with 50% year-on-year growth. All of this have resulted in multiple recognition and awards for Mr. Dipesh on global platform. He has received President Award at Tata Communication for consecutive 5 years from 2005 till 2009. In 2010, he has received the award of Most Valuable Player globally at Tata Communication. In 2011, Mr. Dipesh has received Outstanding Contribution Award for setting up channel and alliance business in Asia. In 2012, he has received Leadership Signature Award for Asia Pacific for Outstanding Leadership. And in 2013, he was awarded the Top Sales Leader for Asia Pacific as well as Top 10 Managers Worldwide for Manager Effectiveness. Mr. Dipesh has been recognized as one of the top three managers globally for effectiveness in Asia Pacific leadership roles. A person with such credit in his profile, it's an absolute honor for all of us that Mr. Dipesh is here with us. On behalf of IPER, I welcome you back to your alma mater, sir. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here. Before we start, general instructions for everyone. Kindly keep your mic and video turn off throughout the session. And if you have any query, do type that in the chat box and we will take care of the questions at the end of the session. So the session is all yours.
Thank you very much, Rahul, and many thanks for such lovely introduction. I think I haven't heard such good words for a long time from many, and it's just nice to hear from the alma mater where kind of I started my real corporate journey. But more than that, it's really a great honor to talk to 200 plus new students, honorable faculty members, those faculty members whom we looked upon at one time, learned from them. And it's a great honor to serve back in whichever form we can. So I really appreciate the platform given to me to talk about the experiences and talk about the learnings I have had in my life. I am not a management guru, neither I am someone who has been an expert on these kind of topics, but the idea today would be to share the experiences where the part of the real life journey, there are critical and crucial items which I felt our newest students who are planning to build their career should know and learn from it. I will now present my screen. I would need a confirmation that if you are able to see my screen, and if that's the case, then I will start. Let me know if that's visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Very good. So Rahul already announced about the topic, but let's go and look at, and we should start with a video by a very famous person who is known for his ability to transform, ability to communicate at a global platform, who has transformed a village called Singapore into a global powerhouse. And if any of you would have seen videos how 30, 40 years back Singapore was looking like, probably you can relate it to maybe a smaller village or a smaller town of Madhya Pradesh. And you see where Singapore is today. The type of visionary leader Lee Kuan Yew was is unprecedented in the history of the leadership from the political arena. Now, I'm bringing one video in front of all of you to realize that it is not something which is going to give you all facets of communication, but you will see that it will set the context for us for next 90 minutes and give you an idea that how the communication can impact the livelihood, the destiny of teams, of countries, of people around us. Let's look at this video. Rahul, I would need your confirmation that if the sound is okay once the video plays out.
I'll do that.
I can tell you that when I met the SIA pilots, I didn't meet them on TV. I met them face to face. So 5 feet across the table so they can see me and see whether I'm still vigorous. able to campaign and take them on, whether it's worth taking me on. And I offered them two choices. Either you argue, you stop this intimidation, which is what it was, bringing SIA right down, disrupting services, ruining its reputation, millions of dollars worth of advertisements and sales ruined within a matter of 2 weeks. I gave them a choice. Continue this, and I will, by every means at my disposal, teach you and get the people of Singapore, help me teach you a lesson you won't forget. And I'm prepared to start all over again. Or stop it. Get back to work, restore discipline, then argue your case. Took them 65 minutes. And they decided, okay, it isn't worth the fight. Why? Because they know they lose. They know that I'm prepared to ground the airline. They know that I can get the airline going again without them. And let there be no mistakes about this. Whoever governs Singapore must have that iron in him, or give it up. This is not a game of cards. This is your life and mine. I've spent a whole lifetime building this. And as long as I'm in charge, nobody's going to knock it down.
Was the video quality okay? The sound okay?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay, cool. So by no means I am saying that this way of communication is the good communication, bad communication, best communication. But you know, after this, Singapore has never seen a strike. Singapore has never seen agitation. Singapore has seen Singapore Airline becoming the best airline in the world. And people are so proud of the way it operates. Now, it's a fact that how somebody in a situation, in certain communication style, in certain facets of crucial life items, they behave, they communicate, they are able to make their point understood with the people. And it is going to be important to learn different facets of the type of communication, type of reaction, type of observation in next close to 45 to 60 minutes, which I'm going to discuss about. I would love to have your questions. I would love to have your comments once we finish this session. But let's understand. And you know, Anthony rightly said that the way we communicate with others and with ourselves ultimately determines the quality of our lives. And you would see in every single life event I'm going to talk about. Now, so at this point of time, the fundamental what it is going to be in your career is about communication, because when I was asked by Khalsa sir that I should be coming and talking about a certain topic, I said, look, in my last 22 years of career, I haven't seen anything more important than the ability to communicate in the right sense. And hence we are going to just take this particular topic and dwell down that how in different scenario, although you know this topic can be discussed for almost a day, and there are so many areas which you can talk about. But let's look at, so now you know that we are talking about importance of communication, but it's important to understand how.
Even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us. The spin masters, the negative ad peddlers, who embrace the politics of anything goes. Well, I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America.
Obama was born with two great gifts. One is his mind, and the other is his ability to speak to large groups of people.
There are three things that Obama does that really makes that speech effective. He wants concrete detail. He likes story, and he loves antithesis, the use of repetition and structure to show contrast. There is not a liberal America or a conservative America. There is one America.
There is not a Black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America. The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states, but I've got news for them too. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around in our libraries in the red states. We coach Little League in the blue states, and yes, we got some gay friends in the red states. We are one people, all of us pledging allegiance to the Stars and Stripes, all of us defending the United States of America.
So this video actually changed the history of America. This was one speech which gave America its first Afro-American president. And you will realize that when we start talking about pillars of communication, there are few areas which we need to really understand of. How we communicate, our choice of words, our type of communication method, our verbal communication, non-verbal communication, hands, body language, who is my audience when I'm talking. Is it a big stadium? Is it a boardroom? Is it one-to-one? What's my content? Because if you hear Obama talks about specific items like Black Americans, specific item like Asian Americans, the content is so important what you talk about in any kind of conversation, any kind of communication. Even if you're doing your communication with your girlfriend or with your wife or your parents, it's going to be super, super important. And most important, we need to understand is that what is that outcome I'm going to achieve out of it? Why am I doing this? So now, since you have understood the pillars of the communication in some high-level sense, there is one of the methodology which a lot of leaders, a lot of corporate people really look for. And it's important to understand the nuances of communication, and there is no better way to explain it by a method called HAIL. Essentially, this talks about honesty, authenticity, integrity, and the love you bring in your communication. How clear and straight you are, how honest you are about what you're presenting to people, how authentic about in terms of explaining how you feel from inside. Your integrity of your word, that should be trusted, because if you are not trustworthy, if you're not coming out as a trustworthy person, people won't believe on you. And whenever you talk, instead of the hatred, you should be looking like someone who is bringing love on the table, bringing compassion on the table, which is very important. So please don't get me wrong. Knowing a good English is not a good communication. A lot of people have this misunderstanding about, oh, that guy is, or that person is a very good English orator. No, that's not about communication. Communication, whether you can be talking German, French, Hindi, whatever it is, your ability to understand circumstances and break it between how, who, when, what, and why, it's what is going to make it different. Although you can define communication theoretically in many ways, verbal, non-verbal, written communication, blah, blah, all of that. But there are some areas where I thought I should share with you, which is very close to my heart, which I've seen in the last 22 years. And let's look at it. Now, in the previous video, you have seen experts talking about ability to tell a story by Mr. Obama. I personally feel this is so important in your life to succeed. You would see your parents telling you a story in your childhood, and then that made you probably sleep or made you feel relaxed. But ultimately, storytelling is all about making your audience immerse in the feeling which you want to bring in front of them. You want to create a narrative which they want to believe, where they feel comfortable with. And hence, storytelling is really going to be one of the critical items in your life when you are going to deal with any crucial item in corporate career. So let's talk and let's see what other experts talk about it.
I can say to you, continue to do what you're doing and working on yourself and working on your mindset and your presentation power. Because once you open your mouth, as he said, the world will now know who you are. Your ability, and write this down, to tell your story is key. It's major. And how you present yourself one-on-one. Why is that important, Mr. Brown? Because when you meet someone and you want to do business with them, people are asking three questions: one-on-one, small groups, or large groups. They're asking, who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? That's what they're asking. Because in the business where you are, trust is important, am I correct? Confidence is important, am I correct? There's a lot of skepticism around the industry because of things that have happened. A major investment that people have to make, am I correct? So now they're looking at you, who are you? And so your ability to tell your story. Who are you? What do you have? Your ability to communicate that in a way that will connect with people, in a way that will expand their minds, in a way that will touch their heart, in a way that will cause them to say, this is the person that I want to put my trust in. This is the person that I believe in this major decision that our family is about to make now that we should go with. How many of you know that's right?
So you saw that one of the another experts talking about telling your story, and you'd be surprised that in my 22-year of career, I have gone through how many trainings on motivation, communications, and everywhere experts would come and tell us that, can you build a story around your situation? Can you speak to audience? Can you build a narrative, which essentially tells your story that why are you doing this? Why they should believe on you. So remember, even if you're going and asking for a job, you should have a story to tell about yourself. If you're going to ask for promotion, you should have a story to tell about yourself, that why do you need this? In any situation of your life, you have to have a story narrative built for yourself. And how you build will dovetail back with why, how, when, what content I talked about. So remember this important element. It is going to help you a lot when you start jumping in the corporate journey. Now, I'm going to tell you something which, everything, especially on the crucial terms in growth of the career and growth of not just career, but also in the personal life, in personal situation, you would see that it is going to be very important. What I want to make sure that it is essential element of success. These some of the areas which I'm now going to talk about. And they can be really utilized in your personal goal as well as professional goals. And in my career and life of post-IPER, close to 22 years, I've seen two types of people. One type of people are those who are very proactive, very positive, very outgoing in demanding and asking for something. And there are other type of people who just don't dare, who just don't get courage to talk about it, or who just dream about it. And whether it is going and demanding, I need a promotion, I need a new role, I need to change my city from Mumbai to Delhi or whatever it is, or anything in your life. Hence, it's very important, as one of the part of communication is art of asking. I tell you some of the situation in my life. I have had situations where I have gone in front of an airline counter and asked them that, my ticket is for a 3-hour later flight, and can you move me to the next flight, which is 30 minutes later? And the customer service agent tells me, sir, we are closed, bags cannot go, and whatever. Long story. And I tell them, no, can you please try? I'm your gold member. I'm a frequent flyer. Can you go and ask your manager? Can you go and call the flight supervisor? And every time I have tried, and trust me, I got a ticket, and from my reaching to the airport and sitting in the airline has been 30 to 40 minutes in international flights, including because, of course, because of frequent flyer and all benefits, I get a faster immigration, all those, that's a different matter. There has been a situation where I have gone and asked that, upgrade me from economy to business class. I got it. People don't ask for it. They don't get it. I have asked for change of my country from Singapore to London. I got it. I asked for my change from country from India to Singapore. I got it. Unless you ask for it, it is not going to come to you. And hence, it's very important that you should know the art of asking. How should I go and ask? At least first try and then learn about it. So let's hear from one of the most popular corporate leaders you may have come across in your life, Steve Jobs. He built Apple. Everybody knows about it. But there is a story about him and he wants to share it. And it's so interesting about art of asking.
We always found something to be very true, which is most people don't get those experiences because they never ask. I've never found anybody that didn't want to help me if I asked them for help. I always call them up. I called up, this will date me, but I called up Bill Hewlett when I was 12 years old, and he lived in Palo Alto. His number was still in the phone book. And he answered the phone himself. He said, yes. I said, hi, I'm Steve Jobs. I'm 12 years old. I'm a student in high school, and I want to build a frequency counter. And I was wondering if you had any spare parts I could have. And he laughed, and he gave me the spare parts to build this frequency counter, and he gave me a job that summer in Hewlett-Packard, working on the assembly line, putting nuts and bolts together on frequency counters. He got me a job in the place that built them. And I was in heaven. And I've never found anyone who said no or hung up the phone when I called. I just asked. And when people ask me, I try to be as responsive, to pay that debt of gratitude back. Most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them.
So you saw that Steve Jobs, the great leader, the great corporate leader, built Apple, the $1 trillion company. In his childhood, went and asked the popular HP, the Hewlett-Packard company's owner or the founder. And that tells you that whether they are the successful people of the world or they are someone who are great executives of the world, everybody in their life have tried to ask something different. And that's why they are different. That's why they have moved somewhere. And it's important that you all remember this. Now, let's go to another super important facets of communication. Your choice of words. They are so important that they make or break relationships, they make or break your career. They can embarrass you in front of people. They can embarrass you in front of your families, your lovable people, or your set of female employees, or so on. It could be any situation. But at the same time, if you are someone who understands how to choose the right word, then you really utilize it in a proper frame of narrative, that can make you a star. Choice of what you say in terms of using right words can either make you a hero or it can make you a villain. So remember that every time you try to speak, whether you use slangs in your local language or you use any kind of words, be careful when you jump into the corporate world. It's not working unless and until you are in a very casual setup with a set of friends. It can land you in trouble. For code of conduct, there are companies who are having a very strong code of conduct. Wrong choice of words, written in email, spoken in a meeting, you will lose your job in next 5 minutes time. The code of conducts are so strong. So remember to use them. Now, let's hear from a very famous author who has written a book called Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It's a very popular book. The gentleman of Indian origin, Robin Sharma. He is known for using the words in the right way. And let's see what he says about using the words.
One of the things I observe is simply this. A lot of people are very careless with their language. And so, there's a huge shift. You can either be a victim or you can be a leader, but you can't be both. And if you look at someone who is a victim, a lot of their victimhood comes down to the words they use. I mean, the words you use either lift up your energy, the words you use either make you more creative, the words you use either allow you to do world-class things, or the words you use deny your talents. The words you use could reduce your energy. The words you use could hurt your leadership. So you have a choice every day at work and at home and out on the streets with strangers. You can develop a victim vocabulary or the language of leadership. And in this mastery session, I want to walk you through some of my insights on those. Well, words are powerful. I mean, words have destroyed nations. I mean, think about the great dictators. They're words of hatred. They're words of toxicity. They're words of breakdown. cause the people around them to do sometimes incredibly terrifying acts. And then you look at people like a Nelson Mandela or a Martin Luther King Jr. or a Mother Teresa. You look at the great business builders. You look at humanitarians. You look at a lot of the great artists, and they were so careful with their words. And their words lifted people up. And that's really what great leaders do. They use the language of leadership. You look at a victim, and they say things like, this is a problem. I've got a problem right here. Or I'm really scared about this. Or I hate that client. Or I hate this work, or I'm sick of this day, or I'm exhausted, or I don't like that, or she never likes me. It's literally the language of toxicity. And the words you use really are like a context or a framework or a stained glass window on the way you see the world. I mean, here's a game-changing insight. You see the world not as it is, you see the world as you are. You see the world through a lens, and your language forms that lens of belief. I mean, your lens of belief and your personal filter on reality is not really a true filter on reality. It's just the filter on reality that has formed as a result of all the words you've picked up from the moment you were born.
So you saw Robin Sharma talking about use of words, but I really suggest you that if you get chance, go back and look at the speeches made by Obama in many of the conventions, his presidential meetings with other presidents and prime minister. And you should look at the choice of words he used to make. And that's why he has been named as one of the best communicator in the political arena. And for that matter, you should be able to look at many of the great leaders who have been there. And I don't mean that you should go and really become a Mother Teresa or Nelson Mandela, as Robin was talking about. Fundamentally, what it's important is that your words can hurt you so badly that they will not care about you anymore. That how you are building your career, how you are building your relationship, and so on. But there could be words which can just uplift the mood of people around you, the people around your organization, your team, and so on. So let's be very careful about the words which you guys are going to use in the corporate life. Now, we've been talking about a lot of words and verbal communication and so on. Let's look at some of the other side of story, which is more on the nonverbal side. And one of the very key element of nonverbal communication is our body language. How we sit in the meeting, how I look, stressed, angry, dumb, bored, how I'm speaking, and am I looking, faking it, or I'm not faking it. You will see people in boardrooms and meetings, they are aggressive. And when they speak, even their narrative, they try to be a motivational speaker, or they try to do something good, but their aggression on their body language doesn't really gel with what they are speaking. And it gives you a wrong narrative to other person. And the conversation doesn't go anywhere. If your voice and your body doesn't support you together in what you're saying and what you actually showing by your body language, it's never gonna work. I know what I mean, but I'm sure you guys are intelligent enough in your life, and you know what's the importance of body language. So on that, let's look at Mr. Obama again, and I bring him again and again because I'm so inspired by the way he has communicated in his life. And you should always learn from someone who has done it very well.
The way he uses his hands, he actually points a lot and does a lot of this, a lot of this, a lot of that. In doing so, he gives off this sense of energy. I am new. I'm someone who is dynamic. And he doesn't do that so much anymore. He's a little more solemn and reserved when he gives speeches today. And I think it's more reflective of his office.
Okay, so you saw expert talking about his body language, the skill, and so on. That's just a snippet, just a trailer for all of you to understand that why body language is going to be important in how you do it. I have personally seen people in the life, especially in the corporate world, their body language has really kind of ruin the entire meeting, ruin the entire plan or strategy, which is somebody is supposed to be making. They have created a lot of rift between the teams, between their own teams. The person can be a manager, can be a boss, but his ability to have his mouth and body work together has never been good. So what I'm saying is that make sure your mouth and your body works together. It works together so well that your body should reflect the words which you are coming out of your mouth. And that if you are able to do that, the effectiveness and impact of your communication in anyone whom you are talking, your parents, family, wife, children, or in your corporate life, is going to be so much amplified that you will see a massive amount of boost happening in each of the activity which you do. Now, well, we've been looking at some serious videos. I thought I should also put you some kind of a little bit a lighter video to think about that. If in a body doesn't work in the way what you want to communicate, how really it can impact. So look at something funny where you can give some understanding that how a use of non-verbal communication can lead to a disaster. And hence, you need to be careful that you don't get into disaster, and you should be really utilizing it in a way that is always communicating the right things. So let's look at something funny.
Double chocolate chip muffin. You have 3 Paul McCartney CDs. Awesome. I love the Beatles. They are my life. Assassination. Abraham Lincoln. Gun. Shoot. 3 shots. All right. So 3 lattes, 3 mochas, double chocolate chip muffin, and 3 shots. No assassinations. Oh, and 3 Paul McCartney CDs. It's gonna be 68-12.
Would you tell me when it's safe to cross? Are you deaf? I said, can you tell me when it's safe to cross? Mm-hmm. It is? Thanks, Doc. What's your name? My name is
Yes, you saw the disaster. And fundamentally, what I wanted to kind of tell you is that the use of non-verbal communication or use of body language will always define the next steps. If people who look at you, find you aggressive, they will become defensive. If people find you friendly in talking, they will be friendly. If people find you abusive in your language, they will retract. And there are so many examples around it. So make sure the use of non-verbal communication and body language is one of the key elements you should be very careful in your life. And it's going to impact a lot of your journey, which you do in your corporate life, especially. Okay. So we talked about non-verbal, we talked about verbal, we are now talking about importance of listening. Now, nobody is more impactful than a good listener. Because if you listen well, it gives you time to process your response and react. I have seen people doing disaster by jumping in between and giving responses, which has ruined the career of those people. I've seen people losing opportunities because they didn't listen to the opportunity which was given to them in that conversation, but they jumped in between because they didn't wait to listen. They missed it. They lost an opportunity. They didn't take time to listen and process the listening into reacting or an action which could really benefit the next step or in the communication or in the conversation process. If they could process well after listening with a positive and a constructive action, which other really wanted to see, that could have given them that opportunity. So remember, every time you do this, and I'm myself, I'll be very honest talking about this. In my initial days of career, I was bad. I was super bad on the listening side. Possibly I'm still not good in listening. But every day I try to improve on this, because this is something which really defines your mental process of listen, observe, store the ideas, build your sentences, your narrative, and then communicate. And while we talk about listening, and there is a definition about listening in different ways in different magazines and papers, you go and read about it. The two things which is very important is it gives you time to evaluate the message which you want to give to the other person, and it also neutralizes your feeling. Because sometimes when you have listened a half sentence, and you would have already framed your mind that the guy is trying to do something wrong, and you will jump and try to defend, trying to be aggressive. No. So if you listen well and process it well, it will neutralize your negative feelings, your aggressive feeling, and it will balance it out. So always remember that in the corporate journey, corporate ladder, listening is going to be as much as important than any other communication aspects we are talking about. But when you grow up in your corporate ladder, this becomes more and more important, because when you grow up, you will have more options, more need, or possibly a bigger desire to listen to your people who are below you, because you have grown up. And there are so many people around the field and the market who have got different perspective to learn to listen. Now, when we talk about listening and we talk about observing and process it, it dovetails back with one of the aspects which is about being silent. And when you're silent, you're actually absorbing. You're observing, absorbing, both. And it's said, well, no, speech is silver and silence is golden. So it's nothing but it dovetails to the aspects of the ability to listen and observe. Silence is more about observation and absorption of the flow of the word, the flow of the communication, the flow of the reaction. And if you don't do that in meetings, you will lose many chances to make an impact, which you really want to make an impact in your corporate career. On that, there are people who are not muted. If I can request Rahul to mute them. Okay. On that, I want you to listen to one of the very popular motivational guru, and I think if you go and talk anybody in the international corporate industry or you know, in the section of people who are really interested in talking to motivational gurus, Simon Sinek is one of the guys who are very popular, who's very popular on LinkedIn, who's very popular in any sense of doing TEDx talks or any other way. Let's listen what Simon thinks about it.
You will be told your whole life that you need to learn to listen. I would say that you need to learn to be the last to speak. I see it in boardrooms every day of the week. Even people who consider themselves good leaders, who may actually be decent leaders, will walk into a room and say, here's the problem, here's what I think, but I'm interested in your opinion, let's go around the room. It's too late. The skill to hold your opinions to yourself until everyone has spoken does two things. One, it gives everybody else the feeling that they have been heard. It gives everyone else the ability to feel that they have contributed. And two, you get the benefit of hearing what everybody else has to think before you render your opinion. The skill is really to keep your opinions to yourself. Simply sit there, take it all in, and the only thing you're allowed to do is ask questions so that you can understand what they mean and why they have the opinion that they have. You must understand from where they are speaking, why they have the opinion they have, not just what they are saying. And at the end, you will get your turn. It sounds easy, it's not. Practice being the last to speak.
So Simon talks about being the last to speak. And being last to speak is only possible if you know how to be silent. And I would recommend that if you are not a subscriber of Simon, you should really go and hear him on a lot of topic, which he really makes a lot of sense. And they're so close to the industrial aspects of being successful or unsuccessful, even for CEOs and very senior leaders. And if you start imbibing those traits and knowledge from the start of your career, it is going to be so much beneficial for all of you. So on that, we talked about the silence, we talked about listening, and we discussed the need of silence and listening. And in that need, one of most important area in your career is going to be that how people perceive you by your ability to think and react, because it really categorizes you between mature and immature personality, mature and immature leaders, mature and immature managers or bosses, mature or immature as parents also. If you are someone who thinks negatively with a negative or fixed mindset, and you are someone who always has this, what you call a tendency to say, it's not possible. No, it can be done. It's impossible. Then remember, your growth is going to be so limited, and it will be so limited as it can be done. But if you are someone who thinks every single item, which is crucial in life, with the growth mindset, and who then processes it and replies back, builds his narrative, builds his story, builds his conversation, with flipping it and making it positive by saying, it is what is possible. When he starts with what is possible, not starts with what is not possible. And when he says what is possible, he talks about the options, the areas where things can be done. And then he will go to the specific answer and say that, okay, that specific part may not be possible at this point of time, but there are other things which are possible. So what essentially you are doing is that you are giving choices to people. Imagine, let's talk a little bit more in the local flavor. You go to a restaurant and say, hey, do you have, say, a chicken biryani? And the guy says, no, sir, we don't have chicken biryani. But at the same time, if you ask somebody else, he says, sir, so today we have got mutton biryani, we have got some other items, we have got some other items. Unfortunately, chicken wasn't available today, so we could not make it. But we have a lot more options we can choose from. Now, then you see it as that there are options available for you to choose, there are options available for you to react. But in the first, you would be very, very frustrated. What kind of person he is, what kind of restaurant it is, which doesn't have something. And it really plays so much of impact in your corporate career. I've seen people, and especially this is one of the parameter, I will say, which hits a lot of people for not being promoted. Most of the time I've seen people not being promoted, and you will see there are guys who will be, after 25 years of experience, they are sitting on a chair with a tag of assistant manager doing something, or tag of a manager doing something. Remember that they are those people who always had a fixed mindset or a negative mindset. In whatever they responded, they communicated with that mindset. They never had a growth mindset. They never had an innovation mindset by which they spoke that nothing is impossible. Even if it is not possible, there are other things which are possible. So let's try the option. Okay, so these two aspects, which is very important. Anytime in your life, if something comes to you, you should really think about having a growth mindset. How you frame your responses can always going to change your career. Okay, this is one of the very important aspects which has personally helped me a lot. I was a very, very aggressive personality. To some extent, I am still today. And being aggressive has a lot of disadvantages. Well, it has advantages to some extent in some of the aspects. But where it is going to really work beneficial for all of you is being assertive. And assertive is a balancing between being passive, dumb, not acting on things, versus someone who is too aggressive, trying to jump in everything, trying to do fast, or trying to be aggressive in communication about everything. Balancing is something which is your assertiveness, where people would look at you that you are a balanced personality who really weighs between aspects, weighs between situations, and then responds back, then react, then does things. And it's very important that in your personal life or in your professional life, you should know how to weigh between the passive aspects and your aggressive aspects, and always look like a balanced personality, a person who really reacts, responds with something which looks more assertive rather than reactive, and more assertive than being aggressive. But let's look at one of the examples, and this example Simon talks about, and I've seen personally in the airline industry how it happens, but I'll talk about it after the video.
I was flying on a business trip, and a scene played out in front of me where one of the passengers attempted to board the aircraft before their group number was called, which, as we all know, is a felony. And that is exactly how the gate agent treated him. "Step aside, sir. I haven't called your group yet. Please step aside and wait till I call your group," is exactly how she talked to a paying customer. So I spoke up. I said, "Why do you have to talk to us that way? Why can't you talk to us like we're human beings?" And she looked me in the eye and said, "Sir, if I don't follow the rules, I could get in trouble or lose my job." All she revealed to me is that she does not feel safe in her own organization, and her leaders do not trust her to do the job for which she's been trained to do. And guess who suffers? Customer and company. She's more preoccupied with protecting herself from her own company than she is helping the customer protect themselves from whatever's going on in the outside world. Her preoccupation is herself, not us, not the company.
Now you see how the perception has been created because of that instance of being aggressive and saying, "Get out of this plane and you're not supposed to be here." Imagine if that same person would have said that, "Sir, is there any urgency because of which you want to come forward? Do you have a baby in your hand? Do you have somebody with a wheelchair, or do you need some help because of which you want to go first inside the airline?" And if that's not the case, then you would appreciate that there are other people who are also waiting, and we need to be valuing everybody's time. So there is a way to balance how you respond, be assertive with your rules and regulation, but do it in a more human way, a balanced way. And that's something which is going to be one of another facets of communication, which is seen as very, very important in your industrial and corporate career. Now, this topic is very close to my heart because I have been through this. As Rahul explained about my career, I have been into multiple countries. I have managed teams who are Chinese, Malaysian, Singaporeans, Filipino, Japanese, German, Americans, various kind of ethnicities and nationalities, and trust me, it is so hard, so difficult to deal with that. Failing in understanding cultures and communicating accordingly can literally damage your career. I have been at the brink of being tasked to being dropped in my career because of some of the mistakes I did in my life. Fortunately, I could correct it. I could correct it very fast. But rather than correcting it later, it is better to learn it and not do mistakes. You would, if you are someone who is going to be working just in India, India itself will have a lot of cross-culture challenges. You will have people who are Tamil, somebody Telugu, somebody something, and everybody has different culture, different way of worship, different way of communication. And if you are going to communicate in a language which is suitable to you and not suitable to them, is going to be a massive problem. Before I talk more on that, I want you to give you a glimpse of a real life story of a BPO and contact center on which a movie was made. And a glimpse of that will tell you that how the cross-cultural communication is going to be so important.
Yes.
I don't understand the purpose of A221.
A221. That's a burger brand. Americans eat a lot of beef, and some people like to burn their initials into their food with a red-hot iron before they eat it.
Why?
It's like a cattle brand. You know, the thing you use to burn a symbol into a cow with? No, in America, that's how you keep track of your cow, is branding.
With a red-hot iron?
Yeah. But wouldn't the cow run away? Oh, no, we only do it to baby cows. When they're small enough to hold them down. Yes, Asha?
A suggestion, Mr. Todd.
Go ahead.
You need to learn about India.
Now, look at this gentleman who has come to deal with Indian employees, and he's talking about a baby cow inserted with a red hot iron inside and killing and making beef out of it and having their names stamped on it. How rude this is. This could be a very nominal or natural conversation in American society, but it is not in India. Now, having said that, an Indian context, Indian employees could have registered it and it's okay. But if the same kind of situation would have happened in another geography, probably you could have got fired by now. It is that kind of serious things about you not understanding the cross-cultural importance. You don't understand about the use of language, the way of communication, which can really impact a specific culture, a specific emotions, a specific beliefs, can land you in big trouble. Well, this is a very debatable topic. We can discuss about it hours and hours, and I can talk about my global experience by dealing with multiple type of ethnicity and nationals. But for now, this is what I wanted to talk about. A second last piece of my suggestion to you is about written communication. We talk verbal, non-verbal, and then we're talking written. Now, you see that I've pasted some of the email communication type. In the first email communication, I'm having all caps. Hey, been busy, will send tomorrow. And another one is mixed cap, which is a normal language. A lot of time we do mistakes and we send all caps. Just an example, all caps means you are angry, you're frustrated, you're writing this with full agitation for other person to believe that. And if you dovetail back with the same cross-cultural communication, this is super damaging. Let me give you an example. When I moved to London initially for my job, there was an insurance item pending, which I followed for 2 days. And third day, I wrote an email with all caps in the subject, urgent. I was called for a HR meeting. And it was that sensitive meeting. That how could you even write that? Do you even understand that in the societal means of all caps urgent is either a matter of life and death or something else? And I won't go in the details, but it really impacted me a lot. It took me a lot of time to build that trust with employees over there, to my HR over there. And I must tell you, what you're gonna write will haunt you for your life, because the written communication in emails will get distributed across one forward to another, another forward to another, like a WhatsApp message. You see, if you write, one person can forward it to thousands, 1,000 can do to millions. So what you write is going to be something which essentially never comes back to you. It is not possible to, I mean, there are very few options in the email communication that after 5 seconds you can retrieve back your email. Some of the emails will give you that maybe within 5 minutes you can retrieve back your email. But most of the emails doesn't do these days that. Once you have sent, you have sent. And what you write is going to be available for years to be audited. And if anything you write wrong can ruin your career. Now, I've given you very small examples. There are bad examples, there are serious examples I could give you. But what's important for you to understand is that if you have any time of life you are going to write something, pause. Don't put somebody in the send. Leave it. Write it, read it 5 times if it's an important, crucial matter. Look at if the grammar is okay, your English is okay, the response is positive, you're not hurting somebody's sentiments, and then send it. It's going to be really helpful in your life. Trust me, written communication has killed people's career. Bad written communication. So remember all of this. On that, in the end, a final advice and request from my side, something which Mr. Obama has talked about.
Thing I asked when you took a chance on me 8 years ago. I'm asking you to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours. I'm asking you to hold fast to that faith written into our founding documents, that ideal whispered by slaves and abolitionists, that spirit sung by immigrants and homesteaders and those who marched for justice, that creed reaffirmed by those who planted flags from foreign battlefields to the surface of the moon. A creed at the core of every American whose story is not yet written. Yes, we can. Yes, we did. Yes, we can. Thank you. God bless you. May God continue to bless the United States of America.
So thank you for your patience with me, and I believe that's the advice and request from my side, that you gave me a chance after 20 years of being in that alma mater, coming back and sharing my experience to all of you. I want you to take back those important aspects of learnings which I had in my life and work on them. Trust me, it won't fail you. It will be always helpful to all of you. Thank you very much on that note. I did exactly in 60 minutes, Rahul, and I hope that was good.
Absolutely, sir. That's the reason why you are known as a global leader. Perfect timing, sir.
Thank you very much.
We can now take questions, sir.
Please go ahead. We have 30 minutes for the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I request everyone, if you have any query, just post that on chat box. And by the meantime, sir, there are a few comments by Khalsa, sir, to you and to particular points that you raised, sir. So while you were discussing...
I want to hear Khalsa, sir.
Sir.
Yes, Dipesh, welcome to IPER once again.
Thank you very much, sir.
And today I enjoyed your lecture thoroughly and I learned a lot about this. And there were certain mistakes which I myself was doing in communication, which I am going to rectify. And that's the best example when you learn from your alumni, when you learn from your own student. And I think today I did that. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you.
And to everyone, let me tell you, when Dipesh was explaining about his aggression, I am the best person to know that, because the way he entered in our institution way back 20 years back, he was the person with a lot of thoughts in his mind, a lot of aggression. He tried to do a lot of things at one go, and that's the reason why he got placed. And then also he tried to pursue something else to excel in his career, and Tata Administrative Services was his first objective and first mission to crack, and which he did. And I remember all the things. And I must tell you, Dipesh, aggression is not your weakness, it's your strength. Always have it.
Yep, but the aggression needs to be utilized with all balancing act.
And that you did. So now you and your student should come. I'm taking your leave. Thank you, Dipesh. But I'm there in the session, hearing you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, open to everyone, friends. Don't hesitate asking any questions if you have. If you don't have questions, then that's also okay. It's totally okay to be silent sometime. But I'm here for next 26 minutes and happy to have any conversation with faculty members, students. I could see possibly Sadhwani sir also there. Maybe I was wrong, but I saw a lot of those people who were our teachers, mentors at some point of time, and I want to meet them, with all humility that whatever I am today, my roots were Sur and IPER. And while learning, growing, improving is a continuous process, you gave me the platform, and I'm indebted for that.
So one of the students, Manasvi, has a question. Manasvi, please unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Manasvi, tell me.
Sir, my question is, are instant modes of communication like WhatsApp are going to be the future of all the official communications in organizations, and whether mails, letters, and circulars will remain relevant or not?
Look, it's a very assumptive thinking that WhatsApp is going to replace everything. And now remember, WhatsApp has come now, and the people used to talk to their teams, whether they are playing soccer, where you are going for elections, you're a political leader, or you are a teacher explaining to your student. That was done 50 years back also, and that's done today also. Your circulars have changed its mode from paper to email, and may change it to some other formats, and maybe could be a WhatsApp. But what's not going to change is the essence of communication. The mode might get changed. The mode could be electronic media to artificial intelligence and to something else or something else. But remember, the modes which I talked about, which is coming from human and is for human, is never going to be changing. Remember, the modes which you're talking about is a transport medium from one person to another person. The transport mediums can change, but the human behavior, one person to another person, and ability to communicate using that transport mode will not change. I hope I've given you the answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anko, you can ask the question, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ankur. Don't call me, just call me Dipesh. It's okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, I was just asking, as you told, sir, you were leading persons who belong from different countries and their language was different. So how did you manage? Because as you know, in this corporate world, there are different person who belong from different cities, different countries, and their language was different. So how we managed to communicate with them?
See, although they have a different language, in a common meeting, everybody is expected to speak English. That's one thing. Somebody speaks American English, somebody speaks British English, somebody speaks Swedish English, or maybe Scottish English, which even British guy cannot understand. So, and somebody speaks Thai English, which is very difficult to understand. But they're all speaking English because it's a common language or common bridging. What becomes a challenge for a communicator or a leader or manager is to make sure that you have to modulate your voice, modulate your communication based on your audience. So if I'm talking to an American guy, I could be talking very fast English. But if I'm talking to a Thai person, I have to be very slow. I have to slow and speak very small words, small sentences so that he can understand or she can understand. Similarly, if I'm talking to a Filipino person, the Filipino persons are very emotional in how they, react to certain communication. So I have to speak in a very softer way, and I can't be aggressive. These are the things you'll have to learn as a part of cross-cultural communication. However, it's a need that if there is a global regional meetings, common language remains English. But remember, English spoken by everybody is in a different way. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir, definitely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Karnika, you can ask the question, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Karnika.
Sir, my question is having a good communication skill the most important factor for the career growth?
You are asking if it is the most important factor.
Is having a good communication skill the most important factor for the career growth?
Okay, so let me rephrase the question. So what you are asking, is communication one of the most important aspects of growth of career, more than
Yes,
any
sir.
other aspects of the,
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so I would say this way. Look, it is one of the most important. If I might be wrong saying it is the only important or most important. There are a lot of things which comes as a package. When you talk about communication is associated with the knowledge base you have. So you can't talk and you can't build narrative, you can't create conversation if you are not knowing about the subject matter. So you can't even talk. So knowledge becomes important. Your experience in life dealing with certain topics becomes important, which will allow you to create your narrative in communication. But everything else is behind that. But what comes out in the industry is how you communicate. But then the communication doesn't happen. You have to practice, learn, build knowledge base, and so on and so forth. So in terms of creating that communication success, there are all other items which are most important items, whether it's the knowledge, whether it's experience, and so on and so forth. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Karnika.
Yeah, Rajesh, you can ask the question, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Sir, we have seen many companies
Sorry, you're not
changing their.
audible properly to me. Can you try to be closer to your mic?
Sir, now I'm audible.
Yeah, it's audible, but it's not very clear. Try. In case if I'm not able to hear you, I request you to leave your question in the chat box so that Rahul can read that.
So now it's fine.
Yes, it is fine now. Thank you.
So we have seen many companies going for flat structure to fasten up communication, but the results has been showing otherwise, as it is affecting the quality of the decision making.
And where did you read this study?
Sorry, sir.
Where did you read the study that it is affecting the quality and decision making?
So because we have seen that too much of flattening up of the organization, it makes communication faster, but leaves too much too much loopholes in the communication to cater as much as we think for a decision to be taken from a superior authority. So, is this a good thing to flatten?
I understood your question, and that's why I injected in between, considering others are also asking questions. You answered yourself that too much, the word too much you have used, is that the missing of the balancing act. If the flattening is done in a structured way where the flattening is done to improve communication, then it will work. If flattening is done for the sake of flattening the organization, and if it is over flattening, then it will damage. So let's say if there are 200 people, if all 200 people start reporting to one person, how the one person can manage 200 people? It's impossible. Hence, nothing of too much is going to work. A flattening has to be done in a structured way, and flattening has really benefited most of the company if done in a right way.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a question from a student. First of all, she's thanking you for the insightful session. And her question is that, sir, how to say no in a corporate without sounding arrogant or negative?
Okay, I'll answer this question, but I want to add the answer for the previous one so that the gentleman doesn't go unsatisfied. You know, there are organizations like TCS, Tata Consultancy Services. They have close to 500,000 people. Can they flatten the organization? Very difficult. When you have 500,000 people, you can't flatten it. But there are organizations who are 200 people, 300 people, 1,000 people. There you can flatten. So it's very subjective about the flatten topic which you said, and it needs to be seen with the right lens, that where the flattening is going to be okay, where the flattening is not going to be okay. If we are flattening a large organization, how much we should flat so that the effective management skills and capabilities doesn't go away, and so on and so forth. So just wanted to add over there, just in case if you have misunderstood my answer. Coming back to this question about how to say no without sounding negative, I think you have heard in my conversation right now that that's the difference between growth mindset and the fixed and negative mindset. The example I can give you is that when somebody says, asks you some question and you want to answer, well, it's not possible. And a lot of people do that. It's always start with what is possible. So when you want to say no, first start with things which are possible, which are yes, which are positive. And then talk about what is not possible. So you're structuring your response is going to be very important. So you might tell them that, look, this is not possible. This is a no. But there are other things which is possible, which I can do. Let's say if it is about you individual, then you can say I can do 5 other things, or there are other 5 flavors which is possible, but this flavor is not possible. So try to start every conversation with positive. Never start a line with saying no. That's one of the mantras you should write, that never start your first line which is negative. Don't use no, don't use not possible, don't use impossible, any of these words. Even if you mean it, bridge it between the sentences after you have spoken something positive. Thank you very much. I hope that has given you the answer.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Dr. Ashish Ghosh asked a question that any instance of yours where communication strength helped you grab a
Sorry, Rahul, I
L3. Sorry, sir.
Lost you in between. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, please, sir. Sir, the question is that any instance of yours where communication strength helped you to grab a work order from a client in spite being L2 or L3?
Good question. And I think that is one of the piece which I created a slide and then removed it. That is about using communication as part of the negotiation skills. And answer is absolutely yes. Now, as I explained in the previous question, is that your communication comes with the knowledge, experience, blah, blah, blah. Our way of communication has been always about creating a proper knowledge base where our ability to communicate with comparison to a L1, L2, whatever you're talking about in terms of price difference or so on, has been so strong with the proper experience, with proper research, with proper knowledge bank, that our presentation in a way of a conversation or a narrative or a story, and the use of the storytelling has been most used over here, where we used to bring a story that, look, another customer didn't buy from us because we were expensive, but this happened, this went, this, so much of losses, blah, blah. So I can go talking about that, but essentially building a narrative in a story format, using the knowledge base, using the research about competition, bringing about your positives, comparing with others, lack of experience or lack in product and solutions, and then presenting it in a way where customer doesn't mind paying you little extra because they become more comfortable, they feel more secure. And there the concept of hail comes, that are you really authentic? Do you really speak in a way that you are going to be trustworthy? Is honesty coming out from your heart that you guys are the real helpers? They can help us in the bad times, and so on and so forth. So you buy cheap, but when you are in problem, they may not help you. Pay a little extra. We can go extra mile for helping you in the bad times. There are many ways to deal with it. But answer is that I have never been L1. I have always been expensive, and I have always made sure that customer pay us more. I hate when I win a deal where I'm the cheapest. No way. I hope I've given the answer.
Thank you, sir. So a question is there from Avantika, that how would you explain a complex idea or a problem to a person who is not very much in a good mood, or is actually very frustrated at that point of time?
Yeah, some of your questions have the answer in itself. When somebody is not in a good mood, a lot of situation happens when we end up in a customer meeting where we're sitting 5 minutes on the chair, and the other side the customer is talking on a phone. And I'm talking about a little bit of my initial part of career, and the guy is shouting on someone. He's facing a lot of issues in his company, or maybe something has gone wrong. And we know that we are going to talk about asking money or asking something, and we are in a fix. How should we really do that? At that point of time, it's important that you really use the method of listening, absorbing, observing, and understand that why that other person is in a bad mood. Empathize, create a story where you are able to create an atmosphere where the person starts feeling comfortable with you. If you have not made that person comfortable, never try doing anything for which you have come, because then it will be a disaster. It's better not to talk and avoid it for a later meeting, or maybe you should reschedule the meeting, than rather just trying and pushing something which may not be the right time to do that. So sometimes even delaying it for another meeting is okay if you are not able to create that, cozy and comfortable atmosphere for that person to cool down and become okay. But your job is going to be making sure that person becomes comfortable, and then start talking what you wanted to talk. Else, try delaying it. Ask for a different time. Give the value to the customer that we understand your mental situation, we empathize. Empathy is very important. Compassion is very important. The person understands that that you are valuing, they will start respecting you more, even if you come next day, and they will be waiting for you to listen and give you more value. I hope I've given you the answer.
So it's a personal question from my end, actually. Not a question, but I would request you to advise. Actually, what happens, sir, is that in class, when a faculty asks a particular question, or even in the corporate world, the question is being asked, and then you deep down inside, you have the answer, but you don't have the courage to speak it up. And then later on, you regret that somebody else answered that. So what advice would you give to those individuals who don't answer at the correct moment, despite knowing the answer, who don't take that particular chance? Any advice from your end?
Yeah, see, this is, and look, I talked about it. I given the example of Steve Jobs asking about it, and I said, asking always lands up in you in some way of reward or something. It's a very detailed topic where the the mental quotient of individual need to be understood, and it needs to be dealt on one-to-one basis. That what is that person's mind going through, what is impacting him or her to come forward and talk about something which the knowledge base is inside, but which is not coming outside. If I am a teacher, and if I have to deal with certain set of people whom I know personally, for example, let's say Khalsa sir knew me personally, and he knew that Dipesh is a certain kind of personality. And let's say if I was a personality who is not as speaking, but he knows that there are topics which I know that I am knowing, I would make that person comfortable by asking about the topic which we spoke 2 days back. And then I'll make sure that person comes in a speaking mode. It's important to bring that person in the speaking mode. Let him make more comfortable by answering those questions, which is obvious, but then he's answering this question in front of the 50 or 40 audience, and he becomes comfortable. Oh, I can answer, I have no problem, and others. And then try to motivate that person in a positive way. Whoa, wow, you know the answer, great. I am looking forward for more answers from your side. So if you make that person motivated, and this is important in a teacher and a student relationship, that you build that kind of rapport with every of your student, and if you're able to do that, it will solve a lot of problems.
Thank you so much, sir, for that advice, sir.
Okay.
I believe, sir, there are no more questions as of right now.
Great.
Okay. I would request, so one. Okay, it's just a thank you note from a student. I would request Dr. Arjun Murthy, sir, to please present the word of thanks to sir.
Yeah, just a request that I have a hard stop in 5 minutes, and I think we are pretty much done also. So
absolutely, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your stimulating and inspiring thoughts on much needed contemplation on It's All About Communication, covering broad spectrum and finer points of communication in simple and comprehensive manner. It was indeed an unforgettable treat for the students to hear straight from their own alumni. Also, it was indeed a power-packed and immersive learning session on communication for all of us here. I, on behalf of the entire IPER family, convey deep regards and hearty thanks to Dipesh Ranjan sir for gracing the IPER Alumni Connect eLecture series initiative and sharing with us his rich experience and knowledge to match the best in the world. It's a memorable day for all IPERians. Students and faculties would cherish this forever. We assure you, sir, to continue to work in this direction of creating knowledgeable managers for the society. We are also thankful to our college management, Chaitanya Shiksha Samiti, the parent body of IPER, Group Director Dr. Amarjit Singh Khalsa sir, Dr. Vaibhav Lavlekar sir, Chairman MBA Academics, Dr. Harsh Sharma sir, Chairman Career Center, Dr. Mahesh Soni sir, Chairman Corporate Communications, for organizing such wonderful initiatives. Thanks one and all present here, and have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you very much, and greetings from my side. It's an honor to be speaking to all of you. It is an honor to be somehow useful to all of you based on my learning and my experience. If anything more ever needed by this ecosystem of IPER, I'll be always happy to serve any of you in that sense. But really appreciate this platform, and I hope all of you have gained something from this, and I wish you everybody a great weeks and months and career ahead, and I hope we bring more and more success to the community of IPER. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.